Okay, good afternoon, and welcome to the third of three videos regarding the first section of Chapter 1, the four major research perspectives. In the first two videos, we covered the perspectives that emphasized the internal factors. And in this third and final video, we're going to talk about both of the perspectives that emphasize the external factors. So, the first of these is what we call the behavioral research perspective. And this is defined as a research perspective whose major explanatory focus is how external environmental events condition your observable behavior. In other words, what happens outside of your body determines how you react uh, internally or even externally. Okay. What it does is it examines the conditioning of our behavior by environmental events. Okay. In other words, it looks at our past and tries to determine how we and why we behave the way that we do based on those past events. All right. Um, so, for example, if you see an advertisement on TV, all right, or maybe on the internet, all right, or somewhere, all right, um, based on your past history and things that you are interested in, or things that bother you, or whatever, you might choose to buy something. Okay, for example. All right. If you see a commercial for Taco Bell, all of a sudden you're hungry for tacos. All right. Now, there's no accident about that. The folks at Taco Bell are hoping that you're hungry for tacos. All right. When that ad appears, but it serves as a reminder to you that I like tacos. All right. Now, I have to admit I've never once eaten a Taco Bell, but you can use any food advertisement, McDonald's or Burger King or one of those
It's three
places.
o'clock.
Well, thank you, Jesus. Um, you can, even if it's an ad for, Kraft mac and cheese or, a candy bar or something like that. All right. The immediate thought is, that looks delicious. And now all of a sudden you're behaving in a way. You go out and you buy that candy bar or that Big Mac or whatever it happens to be. All right. This is one of the reasons why you should never go shopping while you're hungry, right? Because you're thinking about all those ads you saw on TV. But it's not just things that you see. All right. For example, if I go out in my backyard and my neighbors are grilling, all right, whatever they're grilling smells really good. All right. And all of a sudden I want hamburgers or I want barbecue chicken or that sort of thing. All right. And so um, the uh, your senses lead to your behavior. Okay, and that's it. Again, kind of ties together both the cognitive and the behavioral approach. Now, in terms of psychological, psychological experiments, there are two major forms of uh, training, if you will. The first is what we call classical behavioral training. And so the most famous example of this is that of Pavlov's dogs. All right, and here's a picture of my little Gabby when she was just a few months old, just when we first got her. And she's, what is she, 7 now? How old are you, Gabby? Are you 7? Yeah, I think you are. Anyway, but with Pavlov's dogs, what you do is Pavlov started by bringing food into these or near the cages of these dogs. They knew they were going to get fed, and so they would start to drool. They'd start to salivate because they were hungry. Okay, then he would ring a bell before he walked into the room with all the food, and the dogs started to associate the sound of the bell with uh, the food. All right, and so um, after a while, he could just walk into the room and ring the bell, and the dogs would think they were getting fed, or they were conditioned to believe that food was coming, and they would start drooling just at the sound of the bell without even having to see the food. And that's called classical conditioning. Now, I've done the same thing with my dog. I've trained her to come to a specific whistle. And initially, I would whistle and then give her a treat if she came. Now I just whistle and she comes. All right. Now, she's sleeping now, so I don't know if she'll do it, but no, she opened her eyes, but she's just kind of looking at me like I got six heads. Like she's like, "What do you want now?" I'm sitting right here. Anyway, that because that's her right there. Okay, that lump on the pillow on the couch. There's another kind of conditioning called operant conditioning. And this is a combination of reinforcement and punishment. All right. I use this on my children all the time. When the triplets, when I want them to do something, I use a combination of the carrot and the stick, the reinforcement and the punishment. All right. If they do their chores, they get a weekly allowance, or they get $5 for a week for doing the chores that I ask. All right. And with three kids in the house, it's great because I get one cooks, one sets the table, and one cleans the dishes every night. It's beautiful. Um, but they know if they don't do their chores, if they don't finish their homework, or if they don't, set the table, or they don't do the things that I've asked them to do, their laundry's not put in the hamper, it's whatever, then they get punished. And generally speaking, the most effective punishment in my house is to take away their iPads. All right, they're 13, and their iPads are their lives. All right, so that's a combination: reinforcement and punishment. Okay. Now, the fourth and final research perspective is also one that emphasizes external factors, and this is the sociocultural research perspective. This is defined as a research perspective whose major explanatory focus is how other people and the cultural context impact behavior and mental processes. Um, and so, in other words, who are you learning from? All right. And why do you do the things that you do based on the people around you and how they behave? Okay. It stresses cognitive types of learning, such as learning by observation or modeling. All right. Who do you want to be most like? Well, hopefully you want to be most like one of your parents, or your grandparent, or maybe a teacher or a friend. Okay. And you behave as you do because you've been taught to behave that way by the people around you. Now, um, there are a couple of other sociocultural examples that I can give you. Why do we wear clothes? Think about that. Why do we wear clothes? All right, because somewhere way back when, 10,000 years ago in human history, somebody decided that naked's not so great. Maybe we want to put on a pair of pants here, or some clothes, and so we do. All right. If you were to walk into class naked, I'm pretty sure people would talk about it. All right. And so your behavior of getting dressed every morning is based on sociocultural norms. All right. Why don't you pick your nose, at least in public? All right. Well, the answer is, again, because it's rude. All right. Nobody wants to see somebody with a finger two knuckles deep in their nose. All right. It's gross. Okay. Although honestly, if you stop at any intersection, you're sitting in your car at a red light, if you look around at the people around you, it's amazing. People don't seem to think they can see you. 1 out of 3 people is picking their nose. I guarantee it. Do a survey. I'm telling you. Why do we celebrate the holidays the way that we do? All right. Um, all the historical records point to Jesus Christ being born in March. All right. And yet we celebrate his birthday in December the 25th, right? All right. Well, the reason for that is that the Catholic Church decided that they would kind of take the Roman holiday of Saturnalia, which was a celebration of all the gods, right, came right after the winter solstice, right? The shortest day of the year is December 21st. And so Saturnalia was a celebration of the days beginning to get longer. Well, rather than create a whole new holiday, the early church just chose December 25th as the most obvious date for Christmas. All right, and it's great because it breaks up the winter and it makes nice things for us. Anyway, Um, so those are the four research perspectives. Now, before I finish this video, I do want to mention one more thing. Okay, scientists and psychologists, in particular, have a danger of falling into what we call the hindsight bias. Right? This is also referred to as the "I knew it all along" phenomenon. Okay, and this is the tendency, after learning about an outcome, to be overconfident in one's ability to have predicted it. Oh yeah, I knew that. Oh yeah, I knew that. Right? Think about how many times you may have said that in your life. Okay. Scientists have to be very, very careful not to let this bias affect them in their work. All right. And you need to be careful not to let it affect you in class. All right. Let me give you an example. If I say birds of a feather, right, that's an old axiom, right? Birds of a feather flock together. What does that mean? All right. Well, it means that things that are alike kind of stick together. They group together. They hang out together. People who are alike are more likely to be friends than people who are not. All right. And if you look at this, you can say, yeah, that makes sense. I knew that. Right. I knew it all along. All right. But then I'm going to take this and I'm going to flip the coin and I'm going to say opposites attract. And you go, oh, yeah, I knew that. Of course, opposites attract, right? Birds of a feather, opposites attract. Those are two conflicting statements. And yet, they both make sense to us. All right. So you just have to be careful that whenever you're doing research or just even asking a question, that you don't fall into this hindsight bias problem. All right. The "I knew it all along" attitude. All right. Okay. So, boys and girls, that ends the third video in the first section of chapter 1. All right, the 4 major research perspectives. And I hope you learned something.